All right, more block modification this morning. So the corner of the block just here, Rex took that off, just took a bit of a shave off it because of the way the fittings come out of the scavenge section of the pump. It was going to be a problem with that bit of a corner on the block there, so Rex just shaved a bit of that off.
It was really pissing me off, so I just did what I always do, get the grinder. Get the grinder, get rid of it.
Chop it.
Chop it.
Righto guys, cracking on. I've had another great day of not getting enough done on this car as I should be and wanted to be, but anyway, you get that. That's why I've been working nights and I'll probably be working this weekend, but Rex, while I've been doing other stuff, cracking along with oil lines, it's looking bloody good, bloody wicked, bloody busy. So that's how it all ended up. You can see there, looking good. Busy obviously, but that's our oil system really starting to come together. Obviously still got to make the scavenge line and a couple others up the top there, but we'll have to wait till we get our radiator back in and we can get our Clearview filter back on to finish a couple of them. But yeah, those are looking great, looking awesome. So, yeah, just look at it. Busy. It's Saturday. Woo! I was here till pretty late last night, wiring as well. As much as obviously it's not ideal to work late nights and Saturdays and stuff, I do find, much like building engines, like Saturdays and late nights just seem to be so much more productive. It's just the fact that you're not expected to run a business during those hours. When trying to do this sort of thing and build engines and stuff during the day while the phone never stops and the emails never stop and people trying to get onto you and this and that, it's so hard to do it so disjointed. Things like wiring, things like building engines, it's so much better and more productive when you can just zone in. That's all you got to think about and focus on, and you can just work through it and get it done. So much better, I find. I really do struggle with trying to do things like this between trying to frickin' run the business and do everything else and try and please everybody. I just find it so freaking hard to do productive work. So working Saturdays is not ideal, but you know, I honestly quite enjoy it because I get to actually enjoy the work, which is, you know, why we did this in the first place, without all of the noise and distraction and frustration of business things. I can just freaking do the work and I actually like it. So Rex last night finished up our oil scavenge line. This is what we're talking about. Because it's AN16 and it's so short, there's not much we can do as far as room to move with the pump. That's why we had to get the belt right. That's why the pump had to be right. Not only that, but the underneath lines as well. But, you know, once you start moving this, there's not a lot of give in it. So it's got to be pretty right. So that's what we were talking about and that's what we're going on about. But that's our scavenge line done. So that's pretty much all the oil lines finished except for in and out of the, into the filter, I should say. So into the filter still got to get done. We can't do that until we have a radiator because the Clearview and everything sort of bolts up to that. So anyway, I've got obviously more wiring to finish, and as we're talking about at this stage, the way things are looking, we're gonna have a radiator by Monday. So it's gonna be wiring that's gonna hold us up for anything. So I'm here through the weekend. Rex got other plans for this weekend, which is fair enough. He's worked plenty of nights and weekends, but boy, the amount of hours we're up to with this thing, huge. I know the way that I'm doing the content on these, and because of the way past projects have gone where they've dragged out and the content dragged out and I wasn't happy with it, I'm pretty sure the way this content's going to come through and the way it's going to work, it's probably not going to look like it or feel like it, but this has just been the most immense amount of freaking work to get to this point. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's cars, always learning, always moving through. Like, you know, if from the very beginning we knew that we were going to be 427, dry sumped and all the rest, probably would have got engine plates, a front and a mid, as well as the fact that the gearbox, just our opinion of that being built in a stock casing, having a mid-engine plate would help that a lot as well. And it would have eliminated a lot of the issues we had up the front here trying to get that sorted. Like, it, you know, we would have been better off if this was the idea from the start to go engine plates. But again, when things get half built, then minds get changed, things change, and then we're rolling with this, and then, you know, all of these problems we've had, we didn't foresee, we didn't know they were going to come about. And each one, well, most of them, the problem was caused by the solution to the previous problem. So it's like, you know, you can't foresee that sort of chain of events and reactions to get to those problems. But if we had known, if we had 20/20 vision, you know, hindsight, engine plates, front and mid, would have been a really good idea. But anyway, it is what it is. It is only a street car. It's a wild setup, but it is still a street car. So, you know, as much as it's been a real pain and a lot of arsing around to get to this point, it is still a street car. So, got to keep reminding myself of that. Anyway, enough of the more babble. Crack along with this wiring, getting from the R5 out to the firewall sorted, and as I found with doing the pin side, I'm now doing the socket side on this one, out of pins. So again, I've talked about it already, the frustration I have with the fact that pins are missing. So I found a couple in our stash, but still not enough to just finish this connector. So I still need 12 more to finish this connector on here. So I'm just gonna have to steal some from some of our other connector kits and just get some pins together to finish this. There's no way I'm leaving it unfinished. And yeah, we'll just have to buy a heap more pins and try and go back and replenish all of our connector kits. Anyway, it is what it is. Not much we can do about it now. Just want to fucking get this connector done and start getting this in the car, because yeah, once we start to get this all wired in, let me get this radiator and finish some water lines and stuff. I'm going to be looking at pairing this baby up and getting this sorted. We've done some more calculations as far as the blower speed. We got a blower speed off Whipple, maximum blower speed, and between the way this is driven and how much air we expect this 429 cube LS to consume, we're pretty sure we're going to basically be maxing out this blower. And they say it's 1600 horsepower blower. So yeah, it's going to be, we're going to have to see what happens. We might end up having to get a bigger top pulley to slow this blower down, is what we're thinking. Might end up happening, and I'm not sure where this pulley kit came from. I'm not sure where you can get these 2-inch Gilmer pulleys, so that may end up being another CNC jobby, which I don't even know if that's even possible. I don't know if there's a tool that you could get to make those from a CNC. I'd have to talk to some CNC people, but for now we can just use the throttle to limit it for a little while. But I think ultimately, with what we want to do and the power we want to make with this thing, I think we are going to have to probably slow this blower down. So anyway, we'll just see. We'll just see what happens, but it's going to be an animal. Probably around 1200 wheel is where we'd like to stop, really, realistically. The way the engine mount setup is, the way the car is with what we've got here, I wouldn't really like to push it any more than 1200 wheel, which, you know, at 1600 horsepower rated, minus your parasitic loss to drive the blower, minus your drivetrain losses, you know, and that's crank as well. So, you know, at 1600, like at this blower maxed out, that's probably where we're going to end up, I think, is around that 1200. So that's, I want it there. So, and I want it to be able to be at full throttle and stay there, rather than have to limit the throttle to get the blower, you know, to choke the blower up to get it there. So yeah, anyway, we'll just see. Lot to wait and see. So hopefully our new coil covers are here soon. I want to get this thing all buttoned up and on the dyno and running, because he wants to get to Power Cruise. He's already bought a VIP ticket, and I know there's going to be some teething issues, and I want it to be right for Power Cruise. So we've still got a few weeks to sort that out, but I would really like it running this week, and on the dyno next week at the very latest. So as far as the wiring goes, the other issue that I've come across, which is my own damn idiot fault. So obviously when I built the engine loom and started on the engine loom and stuff, there are a few things there, well, not a few, there's 2 things in it that I just had not even considered the fact that they were coming from the other end. So there's 2 things in the engine loom which are actually coming from the PD16, because we needed the 25 amp HT on the PD16 to make that happen. And the issue was that with that, there's not really a big issue. The only issue is that I used the wrong color. So there is going to be a join at the firewall before it runs into the engine loom, what comes from the PD16, where it is going to be a change in colors. And that's just my own fault. So that's these 2. So they're red. I made them red in the engine loom, because I wasn't even really thinking about it, but they come from the PD16, they're actually blue and green. So I'm a bit pissed off about that, but I mean, if that's the only wiring problem issue after all this, then I guess I'm probably doing all right, because to wire up an entire car is just immense. So much freaking work. So Not to mention that, like, for this car, we made a huge big order from Cambridge. We've got a heap new taffel, all the colors we thought we'd want. Look at that, nearly out of that. Like, there's heaps of wire that I'm already nearly out of. And so even just the sheer amount of wire that's gone into this car is way more than I had anticipated. So huge big job, basically, is what I'm getting at. I guess to add on to that, though, like, the whole point is you can't foresee these issues. So even if we had gone front and mid plate for the engine, who knows what other issues would have presented themselves. Potential issues with our high mount accessories, trying to run high mount accessories with an engine plate. I don't know if anyone's really done that or bothered to, because once again, it's a street car. Not many street cars have front plates, and you know, not many race cars have air conditioning. So it's one of those things. You never know. It is what it is. These are the issues we had to deal with, and it's how we got to this point. But yeah, boy, it's been just so much work. Anyway, I believe that all the work in the end will be appreciated. It will be easy to see. You know, I think that once this is all together, wiring's in, radiator, all of our lines, it's going to be busy as hell. But I think anybody who knows or has even an idea what they're looking at when they look under this bonnet, they're going to see that a lot of friggin' work went into this car. Weirdly enough, you'd think LS, Whipple blown, be all pretty simple, but no, there's still some fully custom one-off CNC parts that were completely 3D designed to make this all happen. One good thing about these is obviously they come with heaps of the blanks for the pins you don't use, and because we've populated a majority of them, I had heaps of the blanks left over, so I've actually been able to go through and blank all of the open pins on the Deutsch connectors in the engine loom and stuff as well, so that'll all be done properly, which is, you know, a nice little touch as well. So I've just gone through, added all the final zip ties and blanks for the Deutsch plugs, and the only thing really left to do with this is to terminate the sensors and stuff, which I'll do in the car now that the engine's in there. So yeah, that's more or less engine loom mostly sorted, and yeah, I'll terminate all the rest of that stuff in the car so that it's a bit nicer. Don't have to lose so much length. Got that pretty well sorted, so that's the big plug for the firewall for inside. That goes down to the R5. We've got this one over here. That's the gearbox breakout, which ended up nice and simple, easy. 2 Deutsch plugs, whoop, whole gearbox, all sensors and everything comes out, so that makes things nice and simple. So that's the other one. Also goes to the R5, and then a couple that get joined in from the PD16, which comes from the back. So yeah, it's time to basically split these into their corresponding plugs for the R5. Obviously we've got five plugs, A, B, C, D, plus the 4-pin Deutsch for the 25 amp HCOs as well. So quite a few plugs there, so we'll split this into their corresponding plugs and then tidy that up a bit. And then obviously, as well as that, that's obviously just the engine and gearbox from the firewall to the R5. We've then got whole front end loom, which is over here. Full front end loom, that all has to go mostly to the R5 as well. Plus, again, a couple, frickin' hell, shit everywhere. Plus then a couple of, again, plugs that come from the PD16. So that's actually just the front. Obviously we've got the Deutsch plugs, which it's ugly, but it's simple and it's reliable and it's safe. They go just on this side of the firewall up in the guard so that you can easily pull the guard off. I did manage to get, while we were out the other day, we went to lunch with a friend, and I managed to get a single pole Anderson plug. So that's a single pole Anderson plug to suit 16mm square. So the 16mm square power that comes out for our intercooler pump, I can put a single 16mm joiner, single Anderson joiner, which will go around the same area as these. So, you know, if you ever need to take the guard off, it's simply a matter of disconnecting all them, plus your Anderson for the 16mm, pull all that forward out of the guard, and then the guard comes off. Rather than having to try and pull, you know, the whole front end loom apart or whatever and pull it all back through the guard the other way. That's just an easy way that guard's gonna come on and off. So that's all this side of the firewall. We've still got all these little sub looms. So these will be grommeted through the firewall. Another one here. So that's the actual firewall loom. So that's like your wiper motor and stuff like that. There's a grommet on there, and that grommet fits the hole that's just under this brake booster right here perfectly. Then we made a new penetration here. So Bo made that the other day. That'll be for the front end loom breakout, which will be this one here. And this one will go through it as well, which is also for the front end. It's just the the 16mm square. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all how the wiring goes. So time between these that go through the firewall and those that I've just made up that go to the firewall, it's time to start populating the R5 plugs and start sorting that out, which I have been dreading because they're, you know, these closed barrel crimps for these plugs, so nice and easy and simple and quick to work with. But the open barrel crimps for the Haltech plugs take a lot longer, a lot more painful process there. So these ones here, I wonder if it'd be worth, or if there'd be a market for closed barrel pins for the Haltech plugs, because, well, Tyco plugs I should say, because they're pretty universal. They're not only Haltech, they're quite a few ECUs. So personally, I'd love that if there was a closed barrel solution to just closed barrel. But anyway, there's not, so just gotta suffer through it. But anyway, it's gonna be, again, just a long ass process, just wiring. Wiring's just a long ass process. Rightio, cracking along with this, guys. Again, like me Saturdays, because I actually make quite decent progress. I've got all of my penetrations sorted, what wires are going through what penetrations in the firewall. I've started to pretty much pin or sort of organize where these are going to be pinned into the Nexus. Now, what I have done with this loom is the power for the intercooler pump and our electronic water pump, they are actually only powered, well, the intercooler pump's actually powered directly from the battery, and this, the trigger from here is basically just a trigger to turn it on. It's like an ignition trigger to trigger the actual pump. The actual pump does draw power from the battery through that 60mm square cable, which also comes through the firewall. So that's for the intercooler pump. Now the water pump, it is just powered directly from the R5, and it doesn't draw heaps of amperage, that Davies Craig pump. So it's not a huge amperage draw, and we are just powering it from an 8 amp HTO, which is enough according to Davies Craig. And if you need to, you can split it across the two. But anyway, regardless, what the point I'm getting at is without knowing exactly what's going to happen in future, without knowing, you know, if this water pump's going to be completely adequate, we might find that it needs a secondary water pump or something, or an upgrade, something that does draw a lot of amps. I have run just 12 gauge cable all the way to the water pump as well as the intercooler pump. So, you know, who knows, maybe in future we'll upgrade to a different intercooler pump that just needs to be powered directly from the ECU, doesn't need to take power from the Haltech. The battery, I should say. Yeah, brains all over the place. Anyway, maybe it doesn't need to take power directly from the battery, maybe it can just be powered from the Haltech, and in future there will be a 12 gauge wire that runs all the way from the Haltech. Now, at the moment, obviously, between our 4 25 amp HTOs on the R5 and the 4 on the PDM16, we are using all 8. They're all being used up at the moment, but yeah, the point was that I did run heavy gauge cable to both the intercooler pump and the water pump, just in case future we rearrange some things, or there's an opportunity to give it 25 amps directly from the ECU if we need it. Whereas at the moment, water pump, apparently 8 amp is fine, so that's just getting driven from an 8 amp HTO, and the intercooler pump, well, at the moment that's just a trigger, so it's just the 8 amp as well. But yeah, that's that. Anyway, from here will be our fans, and then our 2 fans and our 2 banks. Power for injectors, power for coils on each bank. Also come from a 25 amp HTO each. So we decided to wire it that way because that's how LSs are wired from factory. They're powered for each bank, so we thought 25 amp for each side should be good as far as our injectors and our ignition. Now, from the PDM16, our 4 is fuel pump 1, fuel pump 2, and then coming from the back, those 25 amps. We've got our start trigger, which needs 25 amps, ideally, as well as our trans brake, which you really want 25 amps for as well. Now, in future, what we could do, given where the pumps are and the fact they're right next to the battery, we could easily free up 2 of those 25 amp HTOs by just converting the fuel pump wiring back to just old school method with relays, and then using the PD16 to trigger the relays instead of actually using 25 amp HTOs to actually output the power. So that would free up 2 25 amp HTOs in future if we needed to. The idea is that if we do run out of fuel pump, which I don't think we should at this stage, but if there was a need for a 3rd fuel pump, we were going to do that anyway for the 3rd one. So it'd be pretty easy just to convert the other 2 fuel pumps to that style of wiring, given that they're literally right next to the battery anyway, and free up 2 HTOs from the PDM16. The other thing is start. You could run the start, you could bridge 2 8 amp HTOs for the start. It doesn't particularly need 25 amps, so you could free up 1 there. So there's options in future to free move some things around and whatever. So even though I knew that these two were only going to be driven by 8 amp HTOs, the point is I did run 12 gauge wiring all the way from the ECU to those things, so that in future, if anything happens, it's easy to change, modify, give them more power, whatever you need to do. So anyway, just thought I'd document that for the owner, whoever ends up with this car. Try and document a bit of this stuff so that you know what's going on. So I've just joined them there with some closed barrel crimps down to some smaller wire, which will actually work with our Tyco connectors, and they can get pinned into the Haltech that way. Righto guys, as you can see, well into the night now, still here, ticking away. I loathe this part of the process where it's time to finally get all of these wires actually into the ECU plugs, because there's just like, I don't know, it's so hard to make it neat. There's so much going on that it's so difficult to make it like a really neat job, as much as you'd like it to be a neat job. I mean, at the end of the day, it's under the dash. No one really sees this part, but it's still frustrating as hell to me that like you can't make it nice like this, just because, man, there's so much going on. You've got to splice things, run it back and up to other plugs, and there's here, there, and everywhere. I'm sure it'll come together okay once I start getting it, you know, together, but just a frustrating part of the process, and extremely time consuming as well. So anyway, I've done the first couple. I've got the last two to do. And this is all of the wiring that I've done so far that's going to the R5. Once I finish this, getting this into the R5, there is still a few things to do. So there'll be inside the car, things like the accelerator pedal, the handbrake switch, foot brake switch for the brake switch, yeah. Few things like that inside the car, the trans brake button. There's a few things like that I'll have to still wire into the ECU from inside. But as far as everything that penetrates the firewall and everything that's already been wired in, this is the lot going in at the moment. So big part of the process. Anyway, because I'm already here and I've already got my mind in it and I'm already focused on, like I was already saying, it's one of those things where once you're zoned in, I feel like I'd rather just, even if it takes me most of the night, I'd rather just stay here and get all this wired into the ECU rather than go home and try and pick it up again tomorrow when I'm already into it. So tomorrow's Sunday anyway, so ideally I'll get this all sorted now, and then I'll have tomorrow off, have a bit of a break. And then Monday, finish the wiring inside the car, start wrapping things up, get a radiator in there, hit the key, ready to go out the door, ready to go to power cruise. Don't even die on it, should be good. Just chuck that radiator in there, just chuck a heap of fittings at the water lines and they'll just fall together and everything will just work straight up, and we'll just hit the key. We won't even have to tune it. It'll be already good to go. Just close loop and all the timing in the world and send it on its way. Ready for power cruise. All done. A few more Lego blocks. Look at that. Officially all terminated into the Nexus. It hardly feels real. I mean, it's taken pretty much a whole day, but it's just one of those jobs that I knew was going to take freaking forever, and that I was dreading for how long it was going to take. And now it's done. Obviously, like I said, I've still got just the in-car things to terminate into the Nexus, but look at that. What a time. Just look at it. It's so ugly. I wish it was neater. Anyway, again guys, I suppose there's not really heaps you can really do. And like I said, it's all under the dash. This literally mounts upside down and this points at the firewall under the dash. So, you know, you're not going to see it until you poke your head under there. But yeah, obviously there's a lot going on. It's hard to make that much neater, really. I don't know. Probably someone with a lot more experience, a lot more patience, and a lot more time than me probably could. But, you know, this is my wiring job. I'm pretty happy with it, really, to be honest. I was only thinking just before about when I built or rebuilt my R31. When I bought the shell back and rebuilt it, and I was wiring in the old Microtech LT8 using just a stock RB30 loom and splicing it all together, and how much I used to hate wiring. And I just had that thought of doing that back in, it would have been like 2018 probably, 2019. And here we are, wiring on a full Nexus R5 PD16 complete car wire up that I'm doing on my lonesome by myself. Getting it done, so yeah. certainly have challenged myself and pushed myself to progress the wiring standard that I can achieve in what I do. So, gotta be happy with that, I guess. And yeah, while it's out, I guess yeah, that's the bracket that the boys made for the R5 to mount it up under the dash. So, hadn't showed you that out of the car yet, but there it is. Crazy when you lay it out on the ground, you can really see just how much, how much there is and how much freaking work. And this obviously doesn't include from the firewall back. Goodness. Alright, so I was going to try and get that subloom, or that big piece of loom in the car from the R5 out, so that I could get my wiring through our penetrations and start doing the termination of our connectors on this side of the firewall. But having a look where the boys have run all the lines for the heater and the AC up the top, it looks like the wiring's probably going to have to go sort of along underneath, but without the brake pedal in there and the associated linkages and stuff for the brake pedal, I'm not sure where I can run it, where it's going to be out of the way and not going to cause issues getting the brake pedal back in. So I'm not sure what ended up being the final thing with the brake pedal. Rex was, I think, looking for a automatic brake pedal because this thing had a manual brake pedal in it. So I'm going to leave that alone for now. So won't worry about that at the moment, but at least it's ready to go in. And obviously I can't terminate this side of the firewall until it's actually in there. So that's that. So I'll leave that until then. So what I'll probably do for the rest of the night, or for a bit longer, is start terminating. Even then I think I'm better off waiting until the loom's in, guards on, tank's in. So I know exactly where that loom's going to sit in relation to where it goes along there, because it may end up changing a few things as to where it actually runs through the Rio, the rad support, hopefully, yeah, depending on where it ends up with that reservoir. So bit of a stalemate, I guess. Well, not a stalemate, but none of that's really going to work that I wanted to do. So anyway, it is late. It's 10 o'clock. It's Saturday night. I haven't eaten all day, and it's freaking freezing. So I suppose it's as good as excuse of any to go home. All right, guys. Yeah, it's hungry, and I'm late. It's late, and I'm hungry and cold. So yeah, I'm gonna go home, call it a day. Thanks for watching as always, guys. Hope you're enjoying the build, the series. So we're definitely getting to the pointy end now. It's gonna hopefully come together pretty quick at this point. A few things to button up, finalize a few things. Really looking forward to this thing. So anyway, smash like, smash subscribe, hit the little bell so you don't miss anything, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out, see you, bye.